somebody hits you with a question because you're an emotion and you have to think like, man, it drags you out of that emotion because you can't respond crazy. So when we internalize, this is where a lot of people are stuck, and they get stuck, and it's called arrested development, where you're aging but you're not maturing. And it's because you stand in a stuck place. So you can't grow in your emotions, and you'll be stuck there. So you can have a 50-year-old woman who act like she's 20, 50-year-old man who act like they're 20. So age really doesn't matter or dictates maturity. It's how you handle your emotions. It's how you're growing as a person to become better, dealing with situations in a more mature manner instead of just kind of flying off the wall, figuring out a way how to communicate your expression, so or how you feel. And that's all that emotional intelligence is. Being able to express how you feel even though you have whatever emotion it is, whether it's happiness, anger, whatever. So if I'm an angry person, and a lot of times people have what's called accumulated anger, that means that you've been angry over years, different situations happening, and you've never been able to communicate it. So it's just getting stuffed in. And year go by. Now you become this ticking time bomb, and like people ain't even trying to mess with you because they know once he or she go there, we're gonna have problems because they finna go and fly off the handle. But it's not that you're just this violent person or anything. It's because you have so many situations that have hurted you, disappointed you, never dealt with it. Now you're sitting here like this bomb of anger and not knowing how, or maybe never had the opportunity to express, this is how I feel. And you know how sometimes you get mad when you do have the opportunity to speak, you be like, oh, I feel better. Just to get that out of you, even if you have to write, you gotta get it out of you. It works. Even if you write, if you don't have a true confidant, somebody that you trust to share and get that intimate and vulnerable with, write it out. Because if you keep that in you, it's gonna sit and sit and sit, and you're gonna burn. And then somebody can do something that's not even a big thing, and because you're so full, you're gonna blow up on them. And they be like, all I did was ask them, and you blew up on them. But they not realizing you've been dealing with stuff for a long time, and they just fill that cup up. So, what we really want to do when we have our experience, which it may be negative or positive, we want to think about it when we have our full intellect, and just make a decision from there and move on. Once you start coming here and here and here, you're going to drive right home to behavior. And that's when you end up in situations that you really don't want to be in, because you fell into the emotion and acted out of the emotion. So what we want to do is to change how we view things, including ourselves. We got to do the work here. Start going back and think about yourself. If you have a negative view on yourself, don't just leave it there. Ask yourself, why am I that way? And think about it. Let yourself go to those places that may hurt. You might cry, you might scream, you might whatever, but you gotta purge some of that stuff to let go of some of that weight so that you can begin to see life for what it is. And when people continuously have negative situations happen, and especially other people telling you, you know, those same negative things you feel about yourself, you begin to start losing hope in yourself. And when you get to a place where you're losing hope, you have less sight to see possibilities for greater. And you don't never want to get to a place where you can't see possibilities for greater in your life. Because at that point, that's when people slide into depression, and then they want to commit suicide, start having suicide thoughts, because you feel worthless because of all these negative things that's happened to you, and you not knowing how to deal with them. And that's why so many people are in depression, just because they are in an emotional stronghold to where they don't know what else to do. So it's like, I might as well just leave, because I don't know, I don't see any possibilities. I lost hope. But there's always hope. You're just blinded to it. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And the only reason why you can't see it, because it's clouded by all the negativity that you feel and that you've gone through. So how do you get out of that? First, you gotta purge. What does that mean? I have to go back and reflect, and these negative things I feel about myself, now I gotta challenge them and ask myself why. You don't get the answer because you're now opening yourself up to be real with yourself. A lot of times we just, I don't want to talk about it. I don't wanna deal about it, cause it hurts, or you may be shameful about some stuff, let all that go. It doesn't, this is about you. This is your journey. Like I tell everybody, when y'all come in here, whatever happened out there, it's over and done with. It's already over. You might be dealing with the consequences, but the situation is done and over with, so let it go. This is the time now to reinvent yourself and now change and become a better person from that negative situation. So, what you wanna do to purge, go back and ask yourself these questions that you think about yourself that's negative, and then challenge yourself and ask yourself why, and go deep and figure out, well, I'm this way because when I was younger, my dad did this and that always bothered me and I've never been able to express that. This is between you, yourself. And you go through, and when you write all those things down, you rip that stuff up, all of what you done, and throw it out. You might think it's cheesy or whatever, but it works. Throw it out and watch how you begin to take those burdens off of you that's been with you probably for years, if not your whole life. So that's what you have to do. To identify and uncover who I am, we gotta get rid of all the stuff off of us first. So it's almost like, you know, when you, I guess what's the best way to put it? I'm trying to think of something. I guess you could think of actors. When they do a certain role and they gotta put on all these masks and all this makeup and stuff, and it's like, you can't really see them, you see the character that they become, right? So you just kinda start taking that stuff off, and then now you can see the real person that's been under there the whole time, being this character, whatever it is. Cause until we find out who we are, that's what we're doing with characters. We picking up different stuff along the way and saying, this is who I am, when it may never be who we are. We can do that. And that's why we gotta do what snakes do, and they shed every, what, 6 months is it? I know you know something about snakes? Yeah, I know they shed. They shed every so often because guess what? They grow. So we should be doing that same thing because we're growing. So certain things that we may was doing at one point in our lives, it may not be good for us to do because of who we become, and we're uncovering who we are. It's not something you just find out daily. You're gonna find out probably a year from now a gift you probably never even activated, that you never even saw yourself. But until you start purging and shedding, that's when you're gonna start realizing, oh, I'm good at this. Oh, I really like this. I never even paid attention to that. So we do become blinded by our own lives, but it's easier to see everybody else because what? We can see them. You gotta be intentional about seeing yourself, especially at the core. So one of the things that I like to tell people is, if you really want a better life, and it doesn't mean that your life sucks or anything now, it's always room for better. But if you want a better life, you want better situations for your life, you have to do that work. Nobody else can do it for you. You can't be a victim. Even though it may have been true that these things happen to you and that people have done things to you, being a victim doesn't give you results. It just keeps you here, stuck. That doesn't take away from what the reality of what has happened. And that's why I like to say, because I don't want to be empathetic, because some things people go through is traumatic. And some people probably wouldn't even survive something you probably went through, or you went through. You know, just being honest. So, if we can get to this place where we can get unstuck, everything else will move in our lives. And then we'll be able to start making decisions without falling into our emotion, which will eventually lead us to behavior. So, any questions so far? Okay, so I want to ask a couple of questions. So,